Good afternoon. I'm Denise Koch, and we break into normal programming to bring you a special report, an update in the the shooting of a Baltimore City police homicide. Let's go to a news conference. Here's Commissioner Kevin Davis.
Sean Souter was pronounced dead. 43 years old, married, father of 5. His wife Nicole is here with him. His children Sean, Zaria, Marquise, Chris, and Demira are also here, surrounding Sean, loving Sean, as the Baltimore Police Department has been here constantly since this very tragic event. To recap the events of yesterday, we know a little bit more, not much. This is still unfolding. Detective Souter was with a partner from the Homicide Division. They were in the Bennett Street area investigating a 2016 murder, and while they were in the vicinity, they observed a man engaged in suspicious behaviors. The man is again vaguely described as an adult African-American male. We don't have much more than that right now. Detective Souter got out of his car. He was dressed from head to toe like every other homicide detective in Baltimore is dressed. Full suit, tie, badge displayed on his waistband. He went to engage our suspect in a conversation, and a confrontation occurred. The killer shot and killed Detective Souter. One gunshot wound, fatal gunshot wound, obviously, to his head. Detective Souter was transported to shock trauma, where Dr. Scalea, Dr. Stein, who you'll hear from today, and their very talented team did everything they could to save him. We remain dedicated and committed to finding the person who ended such a beautiful life, such a wonderful detective, husband, father, and friend. We will find the person responsible for this ridiculous, absurd, unnecessary loss of life. The shooter knows what he did, and he knows who he did it to, a Baltimore police detective. $69,000 is the reward that is being offered to anyone with information that can help us solve this case. It shouldn't take 69 cents. And we are absolutely certain that the community will step up again and stand with the Baltimore Police Department to bring this heartless, ruthless, soulless killer to justice. I'm going to turn it over to the Mayor Pugh right now.
First, I'd ask Baltimore City to pray for the family. As the police commissioner said, the family is here with him. His wife, Nicole, we've had conversations early this morning as she has been talking about the great relationship that they have. And so I ask you to pray for her, pray for their children, and pray for our city. As I said last evening, violence in the city is out of control. And I think Jack Young said it best last night. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. We need to stop the violence. But I also ask the city to pray for our police officers, because I said this earlier today, that when they leave their homes, their families' hearts go out the door with them. No one can anticipate this kind of thing happening, but every life lost in this city to violence or any other issue is a life lost for Baltimore City. And our hearts and prayers go out to all of the families who've suffered violence in this city. And we are committed, along with the police department, to bring justice for every individual's family who has been involved or hurt by violence. And again, I ask the city of Baltimore to please pray for this family, a strong family, a police officer who gave his life doing his duty, a former Navy officer who has served this country well and has served his city well. Everybody here at Shock Trauma knows him. We know that people in the community know him. He was well respected, and he will be very sorely missed by everyone in the police department, but by all the friends of the city, his family, and all of us in Baltimore City. And again, I just want to say thank you to all of our police officers who risk their lives every day on behalf of the citizens of Baltimore. In Baltimore, we can do better. We will. But it's all of us working together And as the police commissioner said, there is a $69,000 reward, but it really is about how we embrace our community and bring this violence to an end. Thank you so much. And now we'll hear from our doctor, Dr. Stein.
Good afternoon. As we heard, Detective Souter suffered a single gunshot wound to his head. Unfortunately, that wound was a fatal wound, and he succumbed and was pronounced at noon as of this afternoon. Our hearts, our prayers, our thoughts go out to him, his family, the entire Baltimore City Police Department, and in fact, the entire city of Baltimore. Unfortunately, we are becoming all too accustomed to violence, and violence is unnecessary, and as tragic as we saw today and yesterday, is just unacceptable to all the citizens of Baltimore. And so on behalf of the shock trauma family, and we consider the Baltimore City Police Department very much part of our family, we knew Detective Souter. He will be, in fact, sorely missed. And please join us in giving our thoughts and our hearts and our prayers to his family.
Any questions?
How old are his kids and how is the family doing?
I know their youngest,
yeah.
their youngest is 14. I know they have a 24-year-old son. They range in age, and again, I just asked us to pray for them.
How is the family doing?
Well, I think as any family would do under these circumstances, you know, that's why I'm asking you to pray for them. I mean, they are in shock, many. They're in pain like any family in this city who has suffered from violence. They're all suffering, and his wife, they're all suffering. They've got a lot of relatives here, cousins, in-laws. Families have traveled as far as Florida to be here with them. And so we embrace them and we'll hold them up and just do what we can to make these moments as comfortable as we can, because nobody can understand pain unless you've suffered it yourself like this.
We've been hearing about how he's been a friend of the hospital here. He obviously knows a lot of people on staff. Can you describe that relationship for us?
Well, like any Baltimore detective, he interacts with the staffs of more than one hospital. And he's been here investigating many cases over the years, and he's gotten to know the doctors. He personally knew Dr. Scalia, Dr. Stein, and their staff. And it's a close-knit relationship between cops and detectives and folks who work at shock trauma and in various emergency rooms throughout the city, because we're the first line of defense. And when people get hurt in the city, and when victims need justice done for what has happened to them, we're the people who do it and provide it for them, and we do so very, very willingly. We willingly take on this profession, even though it's extremely dangerous. At any given moment, a police officer, a detective, can confront an armed person who wishes to do them harm, and that's exactly what happened yesterday.
Commissioner, would you take us through what happened yesterday?
Hold on. Abajoy, then David.
Any reason to believe that there are other people in the community who are helping to hide the suspect?
I don't know if anyone is helping to hide this suspect. My best hunch is that more than one or two people know or suspect that our killer was involved in this yesterday, and we're asking those folks to do some soul searching and pick up the phone and give us a call. We're asking this shooter to do the right thing. He knows what he did. He knows he shot and killed a cop. Do the right thing. Call 911. Go to a hospital. Go to a church. Go anywhere. Turn yourself in. David?
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Yes, sir.
Could you please go through again what happened yesterday? The detective approached someone where, and when that happened, was anything said? Did anybody take cover? Where did the suspect go from that point?
Yeah, so we have evidence that we're still collecting, David, from the scene. We know that this occurred in what's now a vacant space in between two row homes. A row home used to exist where this murder occurred. Now that row home does not exist, so it's an open space with some debris, a couple tree stumps, a couple chain link fences. So that's where the confrontation took place. I don't know if any words were exchanged. We're still looking to find that out. We know our shooter fled after he killed Detective Souter. We're looking to establish a direction of travel. We're looking to identify witnesses, additional witnesses. We have investigative leads right now, and we're following those leads very, very diligently. But our killer went somewhere after he shot and killed Detective Souter. And he probably interacted with someone after he shot and killed Detective Souter. So those folks are the ones we need to hear from, David. He may be wounded. There's evidence that's available to us right now that suggests that the suspect may have been wounded, and we're very interested in knowing if anyone, family, friends, we're obviously searching emergency rooms and doctor's offices, anyone who has an unexplained injury. We want those folks to pick up the phone as well and describe that to us. Anything can help.
What's the status of the community around where the incident took place? I know it was partially on lockdown for a little bit. Is that still the case?
Well, that was the case last night because we didn't know where our shooter was, and there are a number of vacant homes in that immediate vicinity, and we had to methodically search those homes. The last thing we wanted to do was to put the community at risk if we didn't do a proper search for this suspect, this killer. So that has broken down, but it's still a very active crime scene in that we're looking for evidence, forensic evidence. We're knocking on doors 2-3 times, looking for witnesses, whether it's an eyewitness or an ear witness. So it's still a very active scene. Our police academy class was out there this morning. They're looking for the smallest bits of evidence that can help us solve this case.
Brian and then Peter.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman that walked into Maryland General last night with a gunshot wound and was transported here. Does that have anything to do with any number one? Number two, can you please tell us about Detective Souter's career at BPD? Any honors to mention, anything that we can talk about?
So, Brian, your first question, no, that person doesn't have anything to do with this. 18 years is a long time, and he spent many years in the Western District Patrol, where he worked with a number of police officers who eventually became homicide detectives with him. He served in a couple specialty operational units along the way as well. He spent some time as a district detective at the Western unit. He has several accommodations from the police department. And listen, he's a loved guy on the BPD.
I spent a very long couple of years with a wide variety of victims, from relatives and officials to many children from the school, elderly man. Now you have a detective entrusted to investigate murders who is now murdered himself. People in West Baltimore just thrown up their pants saying,
Peter, Baltimoreans don't throw up their hands and quit. Baltimoreans are resilient. Baltimoreans, we're determined to do better as a city. And every place I go in the city, and the mayor has, I'm sure, similar experiences. Everybody wants to win in Baltimore. No one's quitting. No one's throwing up their hands. We're upset. We're frustrated. But we have to continue to find ways to hold what is still the small number of violent criminals, and most of them are violent repeat offenders, accountable. So as we talk about the criminal justice system, all pieces of the criminal justice system really have to work hand in glove to hold people who do things like what was done to Detective Souter last night accountable. And I don't know this person's history because we don't know who he is yet, but I suspect when we do arrest him that I'm going to find out some things that aren't going to surprise me.
Is he from Pennsylvania? From York? Does he live there?
No, he's living there.
No, he presently resides in Pennsylvania with his family, but that's not where he's from. Born and raised actually in Washington, D.C., made his way here to Baltimore.
Where he met his wife.
Met his wife, and she, wonderful woman, loving mother. Met his wife, and they're raising their children.
But they live in York County?
I don't know their address, I just know that they live in Pennsylvania.
Can I ask one more question? Do we know if the family made the decision to take Detective Souter off life support?
So that's, there's some privacy issues associated with that as a police commissioner, I'm not prepared or comfortable obviously addressing that. Kevin?
How do you process and how do you help your troops, your officers process this? What is it like to put that black tie on and that black band over the
Well, I ask police officers, and the commanders behind me ask police officers, what do you think Detective Souter would want you to do about this? He'd want you to find the person responsible. He'd want you to stay in the fight, stay in the crime fight. Don't quit, don't give up. There's no doubt in my mind, and I had many interactions with Detective Souter. Most of those were on elevators at headquarters. But he's a can-do guy, and he loved being a cop. After 18 years, everyone that hears the circumstances surrounding this interaction that turned out to be fatal, everyone says there's no doubt in their minds that Detective Souter would absolutely want to investigate suspicious behavior in a community that's been plagued by crime. And even after all those years, he's still the police. And after that amount of time, seeing the things that he's seen and still being dedicated to the job, it's really easy to hold him up as an example to the detectives who are now charged with investigating his murder and the patrol officers who are out there today who are being tasked with identifying witnesses and helping us collect additional evidence.
Did one of the partners shoot back? Do you believe he might be wounded because the other detective was there shot back?
So, Peter, I did not say any of that.
Nice try. I'm asking.
No, so we just have some evidence that I'm not prepared to describe that leads us to suspect that the shooter may be injured. And I want to say, too, and Kevin, this kind of gets back to your question, we have 150 some odd police chaplains. Not all of them were here last night, but several dozen were here last night. And the police chaplains are just a gift from God when it comes to helping these police officers and detectives deal with this life-changing and traumatic event. Okay, guys. Okay, last question. Detective Souter was out with a partner. The partner was in the immediate vicinity. The partner is the one who went and rushed to render aid to Detective Souter. The partner is the one who got on the police radio and requested police officers and medics, etc., to come to the scene. So, yes, he did have a partner. Thank you, guys.
All right, you've been watching a news conference from Shock Trauma with the police commissioner and the mayor, and they provided news none of us wanted to hear, which was that the 43-year-old detective Sean Souter, who was shot on the head last night, has died. And now for the latest on that detective who was shot moments ago, as I just said, Police Commissioner Kevin Davis confirmed Sean Souter has died. He was 43, an 18-year veteran of the department. He was married, had 5 children. Police are still actively searching for the shooter. There is a $69,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. As you heard the police commissioners say, it shouldn't take 69 cents to find them. There are multiple hotline numbers set up for information about the suspect. You can call 1-800-CALL-FBI, City Homicide at 410-396-2100, 1-866-7-LOCK-UP, or you can text TIPS to 443-902-4824. Once again, a $69,000 reward. WJZ, of course, will have much more on this developing story coming up tonight on WJZ News at 4, 5, and 6. We now resume programming.